General audience number 111 of June 6, 1984. The truth of love, which is proclaimed by the Song of Songs, cannot be separated from the language of the body. The truth of love enables the same language of the body to be reread in the truth. This is also the truth of the increasing closeness of the spouses, which grows through love, and closeness means also initiation into the mystery of the person. However, it in no way signifies the violation of that mystery. My beloved is for me a bag of myrrh, resting between my breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms in the vineyards of En-gedi. Our couch is green. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verses 13 through 14 and 16. And elsewhere, as an apple tree among the trees of the wood, so is my beloved among young men. I sit in his shadow, for which I longed, and sweet is his fruit to my taste. He brought me into the wine cellar, and his banner over me is love. Sustain me, for I am sick with love. His left hand is under my head, and his right hand embraces me. Song of Songs, chapter 2, verses 3 through 6. The truth of the increasing closeness of the spouses through love develops in the subjective dimension of the heart, of affection and sentiment. In the same dimension, this is equally the discovery within oneself of the gift of the other, in some sense of tasting him within oneself. This discovery and taste is confirmed by the words of the bride quoted above, and they are attested also by the further words of the bridegroom, which explain at the same time how one should understand these words. My beloved is mine, or for me. Song of Songs, chapter 6, verse 3. In the subjective dimension of experience. These words cannot be separated from the language of the body, especially on the lips of the bride. Their content is no longer a rereading of the same language of the body. The reciprocal closeness expressed through the body, the words of the bride are a proof of such closeness, is above all a source of the growth of the intimate language of the heart. The verses spoken by the man bridegroom, by contrast, have another shade of color. One can say that they concentrate above all on the specific revelation of femininity, the visible expression of which more and more dominates the eyes and heart of the bridegroom. Quote, You are beautiful, my friend, as Tirzah, lovely as Jerusalem, terrible as an army with banners unfurled. Turn away your eyes from me. Their gaze confuses me. Song of Songs, chapter 6, verses 4 to 5. What do you admire in the Shulamite during the dance in 2 rows? How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O daughter of a prince. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master hand. Your navel is a rounded bowl that never lacks spiced wine. Your belly is a heap of wheat, encircled with lilies. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are like the pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bath Rabim. Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon that keeps guard over Damascus. Your head crowns you like Carmel, and your flowing locks are like purple. A king has been held captive by your tresses. How beautiful and gracious you are, O love, daughter of delights. You are stately as a palm tree, and your breasts are like its clusters. Song of Songs, chapter 6, verses 13 through chapter 7, verse 7. The metaphors of this poetic language authorize various comments about the author, or the origin, and the character of the poem. Although modern readers do not associate many of these metaphors with things familiar to them in the visible world, nevertheless, the language of the body expressed and reread by them in the truth of increasing spousal closeness remains fully comprehensible. The verses quoted above evoke that circle of closeness in which the garden closed opens up in some way before the eyes of the bridegroom's soul and body. Through this circle of closeness, the bridegroom lives more fully the experience of the gift that is united on the part of the female eye with the spousal expression and meaning of the body. His words, quoted earlier, contain not only a poetic description of the beloved, of her feminine beauty on which the senses dwell, but these works speak about gift and self-gift. In them, we always hear the echo of the very first words of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 23, by which the sign of the primordial sacrament was constituted. When one reads the Song of Songs, it even seems that its verses, with all their poetic wealth, are a weaker expression of the same language of the body than the statement, so simple and apparently poor, of Genesis. Therefore, one should interpret this poverty by this wealth, but also vice versa, this wealth by this poverty and in its light. In the meantime, the masculine eros continues to express itself in the words of the bridegroom. Quote, I said, I will climb the palm tree and lay hold of its clusters of dates. Oh, may your breasts be for me like clusters of grapes, and the scent of your breath like apples. Your palate is like exquisite wine that flows directly to my beloved and glides over lips and teeth. Song of Songs, chapter 7, verses 8 and 9. And immediately the response of the bride. I am my beloved's, or for my beloved, and his desire is for me. Come, my beloved, let us go into the fields and pass the night in the villages. Let us go out early in the morning to the vineyards. We will see whether the vines have budded, whether the flowers have opened, and the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my caresses. Song of Songs, chapter 7, verses 10 through 13. The language of the body speaks to the senses. The words of the bridegroom quoted earlier confirm this particularly clearly. The bride knows that his desire is for her. She goes to meet him with the readiness of the gift of self. The love that unites them is of a spiritual and sensual nature together. On the basis of this love, the rereading of the spousal meaning of the body in the truth is achieved, because the man and the woman together must constitute the sign of the reciprocal gift of self, which impresses the seal on their whole life. The bride says, set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is strong as death, jealousy relentless as the netherworld. Its flashes are flashes of fire, a flame of the Lord. The great waters cannot quench love, neither can the rivers drown it. If one were to give all the wealth of his house in exchange for love, he would have nothing but scorn from it. Song of Songs, chapter 8, verses 6 through 7. Here we reach, in a certain sense, the peak of a declaration of love. These words about love deserve suitable reflection, and at the same time they seem to be final chords in the language of the body. In the light of these words about love, which is strong as death, we find the closure and crowning of everything in the Song of Songs that begins with the metaphor of the garden closed and of the fountain sealed. In the moment in which the bride of the Song of Songs, the bride's sister, inviolate in the deepest experience of the man bridegroom, herself master of the intimate mystery of her own femininity, asks, set me as a seal upon your heart. The whole delicate structure of spousal love closes, so to speak, in its own inner interpersonal circle. It is in this closure that the visible sign of the perennial sacrament matures, born of the language of the body, reread, so to speak, to the end, in the truth of the spousal love between man and woman. In an extraordinary way, worthy of the greatest works of human genius, the Song of Songs delineates the structure so extremely rich of this sign. General Audience number 112 of June 6, 1984. Eros or agape. According to a rather widespread opinion, the verses of the Song of Songs are wide open to all that we are accustomed to define by the concept of eros. See Theology of the Body, audience number 110, paragraph 4. One can say that this biblical poem reproduces the human face of eros, its subjective dynamism as well as its limits and its ends, with authenticity free from defects. The language of the body is inserted in the singular process of the reciprocal tendency of the persons, of the bridegroom and of the bride, to one another that runs through the whole Song of Songs, and is expressed in the frequent refrains that speak of the search full of longing and of the spouse's reciprocal rediscovery. This brings them joy and calm, and at the same time seems to lead them to a new search, a continual search. One has the impression that in reaching each other, in experiencing closeness to each other, they ceaselessly continue to tend towards something. They yield to the call of something that goes beyond the transitory content and seems to surpass the limits of eros, reread in the words of the reciprocal language of the body. Tell me, O love of my soul, where you are going to pasture your flock. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 7. Exclaims the bride at the beginning of the song, and the bridegroom responds, If you do not know, O most beautiful among women, follow the tracks of the flock. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 8. Still, this is only a distant prelude. That process of tension and search is expressed more fully in the following songs and verses. Before the day breathes and the shadows lengthen, return, my beloved, like a gazelle, or a young stag over the mountains of perfumes. Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 17. Upon my bed at night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I will rise now and go about the city, through the streets and through the squares. I will seek the beloved of my heart. I sought him, but found him not. The sentinels found me, as they made their rounds in the city. Have you seen the beloved of my heart? Scarcely had I passed them when I found the beloved of my heart. I held him tight and will not let him go until I brought him into my mother's house, into the chamber of her that conceived me. Song of Songs, chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. In the words of the bridegroom, by contrast, when he seems to be speaking from afar, what finds voice is not so much longing, but affectionate concern. I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles of the wild does, do not stir up or awaken the beloved until she wants it. Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 7. And the spouses approach each other. I sleep, but my heart is awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my friend, my dove, my perfect one. Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 2. The search aspiration has its interior dimension. The heart is awake even in sleep. The term perfect on the lips of the bridegroom belongs to this dimension. The male aspiration born from love on the basis of the language of the body is a search for integral beauty, for purity free from every stain. It is a search for perfection that contains, I would say, the synthesis of human beauty, beauty of soul and body. And if the words of the bridegroom just quoted seem to contain the distant echo of the beginning, that first search aspiration of the male man for a being still unknown, they resound much nearer in Ephesians, where Christ, the bridegroom of the church, desires to see his bride without spot, desires to see her holy and immaculate. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 27. In the Song of Songs, human eros reveals the face of love ever in search, and, as it were, never satisfied. The echo of this restlessness runs through the verses of the poem. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had departed. He was gone. My soul failed me. I did not find him. I called for him, but he did not answer me. I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, what shall you tell him? That I am sick with love. The chorus of young women answers, what is your beloved different than another? O most beautiful among women? What has your beloved different than another, that you thus implore us? Song of Songs, chapter 5, verses 6, 8, and 9. The language of the body that runs through the verses of the Song of Songs seems to have its limits. Love shows itself as greater than what the body is able to express. And it is at this point that its weakness becomes in some way a language of the body. I am sick with love, says the bride, as if she wanted to bear witness to the fragility of the subject that bears the love of both. Eros, as we have seen before, see Theology of the Body, Audience 111, paragraph 4, takes on the aspect of desire, in which the bride finds again the proof of the bridegroom's love. I am for my beloved, or I am my beloved's, and his desire is for me. Song of Songs, chapter 7, verse 11. The language of the body, finding its expression in desire, leads to the loving union of the spouses, in which they belong one to the other. It is from the depth of this union that the words come forth. Love is strong as death. Song of Songs, chapter 8, verse 6. These words express the power of love, the force of Eros in loving union. But they also say, at least indirectly, that in the language of the body, this love is definitively limited by death. General Audience number 113 of June 6th, 1984. The body conceals within itself the prospect of death, to which love does not want to submit. In fact, as we read in the Song of Songs, a love is a flame of the Lord that the great waters cannot quench, neither can the rivers drown it. Song of Songs, chapter 8, verses 6 and 7. Among the words written in all of world literature, these seem particularly fitting and beautiful. They show at the same time what love is in its subjective dimension as a bond that unites the feminine and masculine I. According to these verses of the song, love is not only strong as death, it is also jealous. Jealousy relentless as the netherworld. Song of Songs, chapter 8, verse 6. Jealousy confirms in a certain sense the exclusivity and indivisibility of love. It indicates, at least indirectly, the irreversibility and subjective depth of one's spousal choice. It is nevertheless difficult to deny that jealousy manifests still another limitation of love, a spiritual kind of limitation. The bride repeats continually, quote, his desire is for me, Song of Songs, chapter 7, verse 11, so that the reciprocal belonging of both, my beloved is mine, for me, and I am his, for him, Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 16, seems to be generated from desire, above all, from masculine desire, to which there corresponds on the part of the bride the desire and the acceptance of this desire. The desire itself is not able to pass beyond the threshold of jealousy. Thus, in the verses of the Song of Songs present, the verses of the Song of Songs present Eros as the form of human love, in which the energies of desire are at work, and it is in them that one finds the root of the consciousness or the subjective certainty of reciprocal belonging. At the same time, however, many verses of the poem lead us to reflect on the cause of the search and the restlessness accompanying the consciousness of reciprocal belonging. Is this restlessness also part of the nature of Eros? If it is, such restlessness would indicate at the same time the need for Eros to surpass itself. The truth of love expresses itself in the consciousness of reciprocal belonging, which is the fruit of the reciprocal aspiration and search, and at the same time, this truth of love expresses itself in the necessity of the aspiration and search, which springs from the experience of reciprocal belonging. Love demands from both that they take a further step on the staircase of such belonging, always seeking a new and mature form of it. What becomes apparent in this inner necessity, in this dynamic of love, is the impossibility, as it were, of one person being appropriated and possessed by the other. The person is someone who stands above all staircases of appropriation and domination, of possession and satisfaction emerging from the same language of the body. If the bridegroom and the bride reread this language in the full truth of the person and of love, they arrive at the ever deeper conviction that the limit of their belonging constitutes that reciprocal gift in which love is revealed strong as death. That is, it goes back, so to speak, to the furthest limits of the language of the body to overcome even those limits. The truth of inner love and the truth of the reciprocal gift, in a certain sense, continually call the bridegroom and the bride, through the means of expressing the reciprocal belonging and even by breaking away from those means, to reach what constitutes the very nucleus of the gift of person to person. Following the paths of the words marked out by the verses of the Song of Songs, it seems we are approaching the dimension in which Eros seeks to fulfill itself by means of a further truth of love. At a certain moment, in the light of the death and resurrection of Christ, Paul of Tarsus was to proclaim this truth in the words of 1 Corinthians, quote, "Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not envious, it does not put on airs, it is not snobbish, love is never rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not prone to anger, neither does it brood over injuries. It does not rejoice in what is wrong, but is well pleased with the truth. It covers all, it believes all, it hopes all, it endures all. Love will never end." 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. Is the truth about love expressed in the verses of the Song of Songs confirmed in the light of these Pauline words? In the song, we read about love, for example, that its jealousy is relentless as the netherworld, Song chapter 8, verse 6. And in the Pauline letter, we read that, quote, "Love is not envious." What is the relation between these two expressions about love? What is the relation between the love that is strong as death, according to the Song of Songs, and the love that will never end, according to the Pauline letter? We will not multiply these questions. We will not begin a comparative analysis. Nevertheless, it seems that love here opens up before us, I would say, in two perspectives, as though that in which human eros closes its own horizon, we're open further through Paul's words in another horizon of love that speaks another language, the love that seems to emerge from another dimension of the person, and which calls, invites to another communion. This love has been called agape. The Song of Songs is a rich and eloquent text of the truth about human love. Many are the forms possible for a commentary on this particular and deeply original look. The analysis offered here is not a commentary in the proper sense of the term. It is only a little fragment of reflections on the sacrament of marriage, whose visible sign is constituted through rereading in the truth the language of the body. For such reflections, the Song of Songs has an altogether singular significance.